Okay. I'm going to count us in. You ready?
Sure.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
What is up? This is the 6 Month Behind podcast for the week of February 19th, 2018. I am Pat.
And I am Sean.
And we're here to discuss with you all the wonders of the Marvel Unlimited universe and the books that came out this week. And this week, we are Jim Parsons and Mayim Bialik. Close enough.
Mayim Bialik.
That's what I said. Mayim Bialik. Sure. There you go. Because the writers of The Big Bang Theory announced they're getting married this year.
Oh, I thought they were already married.
No, they're just shacking up over in Penny's apartment.
Oh, okay.
I know you're protesting The Big Bang Theory and don't watch it anymore, but it's still the funniest.
I just lost interest in it. I still actually, if I happen to be around the house on a weeknight, I do tend to gravitate towards watching reruns.
It's still the funniest show on TV.
The problem is that like TBS never shows the episodes in any sort of order. So you'll get an episode from season 9 or 10, and then the next episode 30 minutes later will be from episode 2 or 3. Or season 2 or 3.
Okay.
So I can't watch the show with any regularity.
TBS shows them in order. There are other networks that don't.
Okay. Either way,
because the freaking show is everywhere, man.
Yeah, I mean, on a Tuesday night, if you just flip through the channels, there's at least 3 channels showing 2 or 3 hours of Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, man, it's everywhere.
Yeah,
and they're getting married this year, which is really cool. I'm looking forward to it.
How much longer do you think that show is going to go on? It's in season 11, 12?
11. Everybody signed a 2-year deal. I think after 12, everybody's pretty much done tapping out.
Yeah, I mean, everybody loves the show, but like, dude, you got 12 seasons out of it.
But the thing is, they learned from the sitcoms of 30 and 40 years ago, and they let the characters evolve. Okay, you're not 11 years in still doing Bazinga jokes. Okay, you're not,
yeah.
He's not knocking 3 times on Penny's door anymore. Okay, they've moved on from those jokes to other things. And if you were still doing the Fonz going, after 10 seasons, you'd have a problem, but they don't. They've let the characters evolve. They got Penny and Leonard married. They got Sheldon and Amy shacking up.
Everybody's married except Raj, who still can't seem to get anything going.
Dude, he's fallen in love with the girl from Two Broke Girls, not the one you like, the blonde.
Oh, Beth Bears.
Yes, and
golly, I was say if Kat Dennings was on that show, I'd totally be watching it.
No, but the I can't remember. Walter Goggins plays her husband, and dude, Walter Goggins is on there now, and Walter Goggins is just great, man. I mean, the Sons of Anarchy's season 6 and 7 are worth watching just to watch Walter Goggins playing a transvestite. Okay, he was great and Justified. I haven't seen the HBO series, but I think he was nominated for Emmys in that HBO series that he was in. Walter Goggins is the bomb, man.
I'm trying to remember who Walter Goggins is.
If you saw his face, you'd recognize him instantly.
Oh, that guy. Okay. Oh, Walter Goggins is he's the Mayhem guy.
No.
Is he not?
No.
Sure looks like him.
He was in The Shield. He was in Justified. He was in Sons of Anarchy.
He's an Ant-Man, apparently.
A bunch of movies, man.
Yeah. Okay. I know who you're talking about. All right.
Great actor, man. Great actor, dude.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, if you want to tell us what you think about Walter Goggins, you can email us at 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. That's the number 6monthsbehind@gmail.com.
Or go to the website, www.6monthsbehind.com, where I forget what I put up there today. I think I put new covers up, and I meant to put the links to issue 9 of Secret Empire, but I haven't yet. got busy at work, so I got part of it done. There you go.
Okay.
You never watched Justified, did you?
No.
This sounds morbid, okay? But they found that one of the running jokes in the show became that every episode they found a different way to kill someone.
Yeah.
Which, after a show runs 6 or 7 seasons at 13 episodes of a season, can kind of get hard. They came up with some of the most ridiculous stuff. They found ways to blow people up. They had them falling in holes and hitting themselves in the head with shovels. And one guy was convinced he could throw a knife faster than Rayleigh could draw his pistol. It was hilarious, man. That's a great show.
I've heard good things about it. I know Patton Oswalt's kind of in it, so
yeah, he's in it for a couple of seasons.
Yeah, I've seen a few clips with him in it, and I like his character. So it's one of those shows that'll go on an endless Netflix list that I'll get to sometime in the next decade.
Dude, Jessica Jones is coming out next week.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, man, come on. That looks good.
It does look good. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the first season.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Speaking of things that are coming out, Marvel has been the big news this week, is refreshing all of their comic books again, calling it the Fresh Start. And if you've kept up with this at all, you know that this is the 8th time they've done this since 2013. And to me, it's just getting kind of stale.
Yeah, these articles are on the thing, and there's one article explaining what it is. There's a YouTube video where Marvel rolls it out, and then there's an article where CBR just writes, "What are they doing? What are they doing, man?" I mean, what we haven't even gotten. We're 6 months behind. Okay. Yeah. When you read a comic book on Marvel Unlimited, it comes to Marvel Unlimited exactly 6 months behind after it hit the newsstand. Okay. So this week we're reviewing August 23rd's books. Look at the calendar. It's 6 months, man. That's how I know what covers to put up. That's why I can tell you what's shipping next week, the week after, whatever. That's how I can tell you these things, because we're exactly 6 months behind. The books from the last reboot haven't even hit Unlimited yet, which is Marvel Legacy. Those books are not even on Unlimited, which means they're not even 6 months old yet. Some of them, like the Black Panther book, haven't even hit stores yet, and they're already scrapping it and doing it again. That's insane.
Yeah, it really is. And it's entirely possible that their intentions here are to do this final reboot, kind of like DC did with Rebirth, start everything out at number 1, and just go from there and write the series that they need to do. It looks like they're putting the old Avengers back together. Obviously, Odin's son's got the hammer again. Spoiler.
By the way, we discuss spoilers in the show. Okay, so if you don't want to be spoiled, you need to skip about 5 minutes right now.
Yeah,
they announced today the new Hulk series.
Yeah, I saw.
So here's who they brought back from the dead. Your last warning. Okay, mute it now, skip it now. Last warning. They brought Jean Grey back from the dead. They brought Professor X back from the dead. They brought Bruce Banner back from the dead. They brought Wolverine back from the dead. I literally couldn't think of a major character besides Jack of Hearts, okay, who's died that they haven't brought back.
That's Jones.
How desperate they are for sales.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Rick Jones is up there with Jack of Hearts, is how relevant he is to the Marvel Universe.
Exactly.
That's the only one, man.
Yeah. What I'm hoping is that Marvel has figured out that they need to do something, and this renumbering thing isn't working. So this is one final refresh to get off on the right foot and hopefully rebound their sales and do some interesting stories. But like, holy crap, guys. You don't even have 6 months worth of, you don't even have a single trade paperback worth of Marvel Legacy, and you're already going to hit the refresh button.
Yes. Yes.
And there's some cool, like, I've read all the way up to the end of Secret Empire and that first Legacy book that lays out all the major storylines. There's some cool stuff that's going to happen in Legacy. And I'm a little bummed out that some of it, we're not going to see some of it now.
I'm reading some of it, and I bought Infinity Countdown #1 last week. Because that's their big event coming up, and I don't know, man. I mean, their sales are tanking. The only thing that's saving them is alternate covers, and people really, lost their mind on alternate covers a few months ago.
Yeah, those lenticular covers did not work out for them.
And that's that's causing their sales to be even worse, and they need this refresh. They're bleeding talent, man. Brian Michael Bendis. Did you read this article? And you may have been the one that sent it to me, where he talked about why he left, because Marvel couldn't present him with anything interesting to do.
Yeah, they wanted to give him Deadpool.
Yeah,
he didn't want to do it. I understand you're Brian Michael Bendis. You've been there for 18 years. Maybe you've done everything, but holy crap, dude, it's Marvel. Like, you can't find something to do.
Dude, they couldn't entice him to stay. And I'm just like, really?
I have to wonder if some of that's they weren't willing to pay him for his work. They weren't willing to give him something to work on in the television or animation department. They weren't willing to pay him for the work that they're profiting off of with their movies. I listened to an interview on Word Balloon with him the other day, and he didn't talk a whole lot about it, but the impression I got is that DC came to him and said, we're going to offer you our flagship Superman books. You might get to do Justice League at some point. Also, we've got some TV and movie projects we want to work on with you, and we're going to pay you a decent wage. What do you want to do? And he jumped ship, man. And it seems to have triggered an exodus. I mean, you've got Bendis, you've got David F. Walker, who's writing this Luke Cage book that we're going to talk about shortly. You've got Chris Samney, who is doing art on that Mark Waid Captain America book, who's, by the way, has been exclusive to Marvel for a decade. There was somebody else that I heard about in the last couple of days that's leaving Marvel. And Christopher Priest is back is writing comic books again for DC. He's actually writing Justice League. He didn't write comic books for like a decade. Dude, they're bleeding talent, and this has got to be where they right their ship with this refresh. But so far, the fans aren't buying it, and it's hurting the industry overall. I mean, when Marvel sales are down, it affects the bottom line of comic book retailers.
Yeah.
And this may be a thing where Marvel has to readjust their expectations and go, we have to redefine what success is for us.
Yeah, I don't know what Marvel's going to do, man. I don't. And we had a long discussion when I was driving home today about books in the marketplace and where, where comic resellers make money and where Barnes and Noble makes money. And they've really got to rethink their strategy. And thus far, they haven't done it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not working out for them at all. It's just not.
No.
And the thing is, we're sitting here reviewing every single book that they're putting out, and they're not. I mean, some of these books are really good. Some of them are not. But you can say the same thing about DC. I'm sure there's plenty of garbage over there too. But they need to come up with a vision of what they want a Marvel comic book to be and execute on that. And they need to trim their lineup. They're publishing like 90 books a month. And some of this stuff is just not going to sell because folks at $3.99 a pop, you're just not going to sell that many books to that many people. I think the very first thing they need to do is cut their prices.
You know, I still see people on Wednesdays, they're at the Cellar in Memphis buying $30, $40, $50 comic books, $60 comic books every week. And I understand having hobbies and having expendable income. I get it. You and I both know people who play golf. I know your uncle plays golf.
Yeah.
Okay. You go out and play around the golf, it's 20, $30. There are guys who play 2 and 3 times a week. I get it. There's hobbies and they're expendable cash, but you can't expect teenagers, millennials to go see Black Panther, try and find a store, and then pay $4 for a 22-page comic book. It's just
right. And then first of all,
work.
It's not. And then they walk in and they go, they look at what's new and they have no idea where to start. They're more likely to walk into a Barnes and Noble or a Books A Million and find something in a trade paperback. And we can have we could do a whole podcast about how we feel the industry needs to move to the book market rather than the floppy market.
Yeah.
But anyway, Marvel's got problems. I hope this refresh works out for them. They actually have announced some really exciting things, like Ta-Nehisi Coates is taking over Captain America, which I'm looking forward to. Jamie Madrox is getting his own solo series. Although if he's multiple man, I don't know how you call it a solo series. But anyway.
I thought he was still dead.
I don't know, man. He's getting his own series.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I enjoy Marvel's work. I enjoy their characters. We do a whole podcast about it. But holy crap, guys, you guys got to get it together. You're Marvel, for crying out loud.
Dude, you've got the Black Panther shattering records.
And I guarantee you, nobody walked into Bob's or Jason's in Memphis this past week and bought a Black Panther book because they saw the movie.
No.
And the thing is, they've been trying to do this for 10 years to turn movie goers into comic book buyers, and it hasn't worked. And it's something I think they need to just stop doing.
You and I have discussed it before. There are ways to do it, and they haven't figured it out.
No, and this Infinity Countdown that they're going to invariably try to tie into Infinity Wars isn't going to do it either.
No, I mean, dude, you put a peel off sticker on every souvenir cup that you sell the first couple of weekends. You give the souvenir cups away. You put a peel off sticker for a trade paperback from Comixology. How hard is this? How hard is it? You make your ticket stub. You put a code on your ticket stub that's redeemable for an issue of the Countdown to Infinity. There's a dozen ways to do this, and these people haven't figured it out.
Yeah.
They just give it away.
Boggles the mind.
If you can do free comic book day, why can't you hand out a copy of Infinity to every person that walks in the store? I mean, in the theater.
Right. Even the first 100.
Dude, it's just not. This isn't rocket science. It's
really not. It's really not. Anyway, we're going to jump into our books this week with our Secret Empire books. The only one we had this week was Secret Empire Brave New World #5. As fits the formula here, you have 3 different stories. The first of which is Blade in the Dark Force dimension of Manhattan fighting vampires, because now that Manhattan is surrounded in the dark all the time, vampires can do new things. He thinks one of these kids is a vampire, so he pretends to be a substitute teacher at a preschool. And turns out it's actually the school nurse or one of the other teachers that's a vampire. Anyway, he kills her. Turns out one of the kids is a vampire, but he's not trying to hurt anybody. He just wants an education. He's been a child vampire for like 200 years and can't go out in sunlight, so he just wants to read a book or two.
Makes perfect sense to me.
Sure. Then we have a story about how hard it is for Emma Frost to be a hot lady. We're just gonna leave it at that. And then we have, as always, our ongoing Namor story, which is in this one, he reunites with the invaders. He shows his hand. We find out that it's Bucky under the helmet, or we found out last issue, either way. He and Mira decide that they're going to rule Atlantis together. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we had the Bucky reveal. That was the big thing in this issue.
Yeah.
So
actually, I don't think it was in this issue at all, but
well, sure. It was in this issue, and it was in Secret Empire #8.
Yeah, it was.
Thing, if you read this on the newsstand before Secret Empire Brave New World #5, before Secret Empire #8, Marvel showed the cover of Secret Empire #9, which has Bucky fighting Zemo.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, why did you just spoil this? But they did. They didn't care that, they told the world that Bucky was alive. They didn't care.
Oh, dude, like me and some buddies at work were talking the other night, and apparently on The Flash this week, Iris West is going to get speedster powers. That's their main advertising point to watch The Flash after it's been gone for 2 weeks because of the Olympics. Hey, Iris is going to get speed powers. Come watch. Really? You're going to spoil the main plot really? What are you doing?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Surely there'll be more there. In our Spider-Man books, we have Spider-Man Renew Your Vow #10. A Day in the Life of Normie Osborn. And
hooray.
For those who don't know, Normie is 10 years old. His dad's dead. His granddad's dead. He's a genius who's running Oscorp. And as we read the book, we also find out that he's been injecting himself with small doses of the Green Goblin formula. Yes, he's only 10 years old.
Yeah.
He hates
the world. Who in the world lets a 10-year-old run a corporation?
I don't know.
Just
back in the Middle Ages, 8 and 10-year-olds were held monarchies because it fell to them and they assumed power.
Yeah, but even then, it wasn't really them who held power; it was the people around them.
And what about the girl on Game of Thrones? Man, come on, is that Lady Marymount? No.
There's a lot of girls on Game of Thrones.
No, so the one who's endorsing Jon as King of the North.
Oh, Lady Mormont. Yeah, you're talking about an island of about 100 people.
Well, still, somebody's got to be in charge.
Also, literally everyone else in her family's dead because they followed the Stark kid off to war.
Through how Normie's dad and granddad and mom and everybody else are dead. So anyway, the Lizard and Billy Lizard, Junior Lizard, attack Spider-Man and Spiderette, Junior Spider-Man, and they attack Norman, and Norman wants to save the day. Normie wants to save the day, except Spider-Man does it, and this makes Normie mad because he can't be the hero. So now he's going to take all the Jackal formula and become a raving madman at 10 years old.
The Jackal formula?
Green Goblin formula. Green Goblin, Jackal. One of those Spider-Man villains.
Okay.
I'm not on top of my game tonight, man. Don't make fun of me.
How is this book? Like, the Renew Your Vows, it's #10. I looked at the solicitations the other day. It's still going on.
Yes.
In fact, I think it's even going to survive this refresh. Why is this selling?
I don't know. I don't.
They can't even sell Amazing Spider-Man past about 50,000 issues. So why is this selling?
I don't know. I really don't have a freaking clue. I mean, it's not bad, and it's an interesting alternate universe, but I don't understand why it's so popular. I just don't.
Yeah, you look at Marvel sales and you look at their top books, and you just have to go, what is going on here? I mean, I get the Deadpool thing, I really do, but otherwise, some of this stuff, I'm just like, what? Why is this? Why is this selling?
I don't know.
Then we have Spider-Man 2, number 2. This is the book that deals with the whole who is the 616 universe Miles Morales. So you've got Peter Parker and Miles Morales, both Spider-Man, hanging out with Taskmaster. They're not hanging out with him. They've found him in a warehouse messing around with an interdimensional portal. So, they're going to get in a fight with him. And during the fight, he actually uses Miles Morales' name. Now, what you and I know as the audience is that Miles Morales of this universe, the 616 universe, is some sort of villain who he's working for. But to Miles, that just sounds really strange, because why in the world would Taskmaster know who Miles Morales is? And yeah, so they go to Jessica Jones to dig up some information, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Also, I don't know who Miles Morales is in this universe other than a bad guy. I assume we'll find out.
Okay.
So Brian Michael Bendis is writing this, and he did this Peter Parker Miles Morales crossover a long time ago, before all the universes condensed into one, and you still had 2 separate universes. Why now, 2-3 years later, are they doing this?
I don't know. Same reason they're doing their New Year vows. It's popular in itself, apparently.
At the end of that series, the last page is Peter Parker Googling Miles Morales to see who Miles Morales is in the 616 universe, and we don't get any sort of indication as to who he is. But you're going to do that and then follow it up with a series 3 years later? Why not do it immediately? It's like the Age of Ultron thing that came out a couple years ago. That thing should have been out years and years before.
I totally agree. If I don't hit the mute microphone, you're going to hear me coughing really loud in this mic. So I'm doing my best.
Yeah. Anywho,
Astonishing X-Men number 2. Now, let's pause here a moment, because we discussed this earlier, and we'll discuss it again now. This is Professor X. This is Professor X on the astral plane. So what happened is, when Cyclops killed him, when the Red Skull took his brain, apparently Professor Xavier's mind, I guess his soul, for lack of a better term, was captured on the astral plane by the Shadow King. And they are now having yet another fight to, it's a game to the Shadow King. It's a fight to Professor Xavier. And they've brought 5 of the X-Men onto the astral plane. Beast, Phantom X, Rogue, Wolverine, and Gambit. There's 2 or 3 outside who are defending them from the people of Great Britain, I believe. Because, they're attacking them. And this whole thing is Professor X and the Shadow King. I want to say Emil Farouk.
Ahmad Farouk. Yeah,
Ahmad Farouk. Thank you. I didn't even read it. I was just trying to do it from memory. Trying to manipulate these characters into doing what they want so they can stay on the astral plane forever. The characters. And once they do, Farouk can take their body. The Shadow King can take their body in the real world, kind of like we saw in Legion.
Right, yeah. When does that come back, by the way? It's got to be soon.
I want to say April, but don't quote me.
Okay.
I mean, there's trailers out there. There's more dancing this year. There's trailers out there. There's stuff out there about it.
Okay. I hadn't seen anything about it on FX. So, because FX has been pipping the return of Atlanta, which I'm also excited about.
I want to say April or May.
Okay.
This is I really enjoyed this book. This is the return of Professor Xavier in some form or another. I'm reading it on the newsstand, and I still don't know where it's going exactly. So it's still playing out 6 months from now, but this is how he returns.
Right. And I assume come May it'll be relaunched.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't. What do I know? Next, we have Gen X number 5, and the question is, why do I care? You got Trevor, the dude with eyes all over his body, and Jubilee has got him in front of multiple screens, and people are passing poker chips around, and he's trying to keep past the poker chips by using all his eyes to look at all the screens at the same time. Which he does, but his powers kind of freak out, and he starts seeing people naked. And anyway, and
what?
Yeah, and then he starts seeing them in different colors, and finally, the girl with sticks growing out of her head, is that her mutant power? Like,
they're like antlers, yeah,
but they're straight, man. They're not, antlers aren't straight like this. They're sticks.
I don't know. She talks to animals. I don't know.
Yeah, so all the animals are there, and then they go. They find the raccoon, and their animals are rising up in the forest, and they go after the Rat King, who is somehow possessing the animals, and they go defeat the Rat King. And I wish to God I was making this up, because this is as bad as it sounds. Seriously.
Yeah. This surprisingly, this series doesn't make the cut, so it's going to be done in about 5 or 6 issues. Supposedly it's supposed to end with Jubilee not being a vampire anymore, so there's that. But why does anybody care?
Really, I don't know, man. I don't. I mean, I read this thing because it was assigned to me, and I was like, for the love of God.
It was assigned to me, but it was one of those problems where Marvel didn't want me to read the book, so the app would never load the book. So, I don't know.
It was someone saving you from having to read the book. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was torture.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, X-Men Blue number 9, which is a kind of a Secret Empire tie-in. I don't feel like it was enough of a tie-in to put in with the Secret Empire books. The mutants have been captured and are being held in Newtian by Emma Frost because she finds them to be a nuisance. So Jean Grey and James Howlett? I don't remember.
Yes, it is.
Jimmy Hudson. No, James Howlett is real Wolverine. Jimmy Hudson is the son of Ultimate Wolverine.
Yeah. James Howlett's son.
Yeah, Jimmy Hoffa. What?
Jimmy Hudson is Howlett's son in the 1610 universe.
Yeah. So they're staging a prison break. Polaris shows up to deal with Havoc while they bust the rest of the X-Men out. Jimmy Hudson gets his claws dirty. The only real issue they have is that Emma Frost has Scott Summers, and she's using the fragment of the cosmic cube that she possesses to amplify her psychic powers, and she's basically trying to mold this young Scott Summers into the old Scott Summers, more so into this idea of who this Scott Summers should be. She's trying to turn him into the crazed mutant terrorist that he became.
Basically her love slave.
Yeah. Her and Jean Grey get into a psychic battle. During the battle, she loses control of Zorn, who's able to occupy Emma Frost just enough to let the X-Men get away. There's a new development where now, for whatever reason, Jean Grey and Scott Summers can hear each other all the time, regardless of whether they want to or not. Meanwhile, Captain America shows up to Vietnam where Magneto's hanging out. They exchange some choice words, and Emma Frost she understands that, Newtian's time is coming to an end, but they have reach the goal that they wanted to reach, which I don't understand what they're doing, but for whatever reason, Miss Sinister and Bastion are here at the end of this book, and I don't know what that means. And yeah,
I don't either.
Yeah, it's something about, what is it? Mother Vine. What is that?
I don't know.
Have they mentioned that at all previously in any of the books?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay, sure. Let's just drop that sort of thing in there to be wondered about.
Well, yeah, that's I'm not opposed to that sort of thing. It keeps you intrigued.
Yeah, I just want to know why Miss Sinister and not Mr. Sinister, Miss Sinister, who actually did see a few issues ago, and Bastion, who we saw at the very beginning of this series, are there.
I'm intrigued.
I'm irritated because I don't know what's going on. Anyway, moving on to our Inhumans books this week, we have Royals number 6. You know what? I hate the Inhumans, and this book isn't half bad.
Yeah.
You've got this whole like new Inhumans thing going on, and you've got the old Inhumans. They're investigating the old Kree homeworld, and the Kree Supreme Intelligence and Ronan are there, and Crystal and Ronan have a moment because they used to be married, because Crystal used to be married to everybody. And Ronan's emo because the Kree world that he envisioned is no longer a possibility. Meanwhile, Medusa is rounding up a group of lady aliens, and they're going to do stuff. I don't know. I'm not doing it justice, but the series, for being an Inhuman book, is not half bad. Al Ewing's writing it, which is why. If anybody else were writing this, it'd be utter freaking garbage.
Yeah.
Because the Inhumans are utter freaking garbage.
I agree.
The Marvel should take the Inhumans and set them on fire and never use them again for anything.
There's the Sean I love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice, rational thoughts. Yeah.
Dude, how many characters does Marvel and DC both have that they just never use for anything because they're useless and dumb? I can think of plenty of mutants.
I don't know.
But you're going to keep touting the Inhumans out every 5 minutes because for whatever reason you think people are interested in them.
I don't know. In our Weapons of Mutant Destruction series this week, the Totally Awesome Hulk number something 22. We have, and this was kind of a theme throughout this series, and it wasn't bad because it showed, Weapon X, Wolverine, Sabretooth, Domino, who are just willing to do whatever it takes to accomplish their goal, whether it's killing people, whether it's racking up an enormous body toll. They do whatever it takes. Whereas Amadeus Cho is determined not to kill people, and he's convinced he can save everyone and not kill anyone, including the villains. He can save the villains. He can save the heroes. He can save the general populace. He can save everyone, and no one's going to die. And it's a real dichotomy of characters and groups. And we see it again in this one. He's fighting a Hulk Wolverine, which, is interesting enough. And while they're fighting him, Dr. Albert releases her latest creation, which is yet another Hulk jacked up to be a Wolverine. And Amadeus Cho has to unleash the Hulk inside him to defeat it. And again, he does it all without killing anyone. And, at the end, he's mad at the Weapon X team, and the Weapon X team calls him an idiot. It's not a bad series, man. It's not bad.
I feel like this issue wraps up the whole thing, the whole crossover, a little too neatly. Like it's all just resolved in the last 5 minutes.
You
had what, 5 or 6 issues leading up to this big conflict, and it's over in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it
was a little anticlimactic,
but it was a whole issue of a fight scene, and I enjoyed the different approach of the characters, so I didn't think it was that bad. I thought Greg Pak did a good job of writing it, so I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed it quite a lot. The whole Weapons of Mutant Destruction storyline, as well as this book, and you get some, like, you know, Amadeus Cho has been fighting with the Hulk inside him, and this is where he really lets it out, and you understand that he, you know, he can't resist the monster anymore, and he can't afford to resist it anymore if he plans to survive. But I don't know. I just felt like having the monster bound off at the end was a little anticlimactic.
Yeah, but he's headed to Planet Hulk, man. He's gonna turn it loose.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Yep.
Then we had our Generations book this week, which is Wolverine. So we have regular Wolverine and Laura Kinney. At some point, we don't know when, and we'll talk more about this in, was it issue 9 or 10 of Secret Empire, The Vanishing Point?
Yeah.
About how all this generation stuff is happening. So Wolverine's in Japan fighting some hand ninjas from the hand.
Yeah.
You follow me? You guys follow me, right? Okay.
Yes, we follow you.
When Laura Kinney shows
they
up,
were handy, like they were handy around the kitchen or handy around the house.
Yeah, that's what that's exactly what I didn't want you to take from that.
Okay, got it. All right, good.
He's getting overwhelmed by these ninjas when Laura Kinney shows up. She helps him take them out. They track one of them down to wherever they're getting their weapons from. This whole issue is a lot of them fighting ninjas. Along the way, though, it's them talking to each other. Laura's trying not to reveal too much information because, you know, you don't want to mess up the timeline. However, Wolverine's not stupid. He figures out that it's essentially his daughter. Anyway, at some point they're on the plane. Sabretooth's got this kid that he's kidnapped. They've got to take out Sabretooth without killing the kid, which Laura Kinney does in spectacular fashion.
Yeah.
And then there's a little heartfelt moment at the end where she's going to leave, but he tells her, no, you need to stick around because, you know, I know who you are, even though you won't tell me. And that's when she learns her lesson and fades away into her regular timeline. It's pretty good. All of these generation books have been all right.
Yeah. I've enjoyed each of them, and I enjoyed this one. It was very good.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. In our Avengers books this week, we have U.S. Avengers number 9. I don't know how long the storyline of Robert DaCosta. Essentially, he's got some disease, maybe cancer, and when he uses his powers, it's slowly killing him.
Yeah.
I don't know how long that story's been going. I know it's
isn't this the same disease that was killing all the mutants at one point? The Terrigen thing, isn't that what it was?
Maybe. I'm not sure what it was, but Dr. Tony Ho has found this device that helps him control his powers, so he's able to use his powers and not make himself sicker, for lack of a better term. They don't do a good job of explaining it, so I'm not doing a good job of explaining it. And he's basically able to just turn his powers loose for the first time in a long time. He even goes toe-to-toe with Hulk. This whole thing is happening over in Europe, and you got these European heroes that none of us care about. Other than the British Punisher, who I don't remember making it from the Contest of Champions world, from Battle World to here. I don't know how that happened.
Time travel, man. It could be
up in this book, man.
It could be before all that happens. You never know.
He's a pacifist British Punisher.
Yeah.
Anyway, he just shows up. So Robert DaCosta has his powers back. He and the Red Hulk save the day. And that kind of leads us to the end of this issue, where Sam Guthrie is being held prisoner somewhere. So it's good. I'm kind of soft selling it here. It was good. It just wasn't great.
Yeah, if you've been a fan of this series, you'll enjoy this.
And I'm a fan of this series, and I really enjoyed him tuning Robert's power back up. I mean, because with his power level, he is able to go toe to toe with Hulk, and I'm glad that they allowed him to do that.
Well, it's a fun book. I mean, it's not always it's not it isn't always serious. Sometimes it's even downright silly, but it's a fun Avengers book, and it's well written, and I think Al Ewing's still writing it.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah, so that tells you a lot. Squirrel Girl's in it, so the team's unbeatable. Yeah, man, it's good. If you've been a fan of it, you'll continue to enjoy it. With the exception of that weird thing they did during Civil War, which was them fighting a giant robot or sea creature. I don't remember.
Yeah,
that was some bad filler stuff. Anyway, what wasn't bad filler was Ultimates number 100. By the way, this is the issue where they renumbered it, right? Like the last one was Ultimates 2, number 9. Isn't that correct?
And this is 100, which is the last issue.
Yeah. Why would you even bother? Why would you even bother?
Number 100.
Okay. It's literally the last issue of the series.
Yes.
Okay. For being the last issue of the series, it's fantastic. It's also like 31 pages. So Galactus and his Eternity Watch have gathered their heralds and are attempting to save the multiverse. So he summons America Chavez, Blue Marvel, Spectrum, and Captain Marvel. They go to toe with the Ultimates of the Ultimate Universe, which the Maker has summoned. It's during this fight that they realize that the Maker is their real enemy here, and at some point they start to work together. They decide to put their differences aside and work together along with the High Evolutionary to undo everything that it's not Eternity who's doing it's what's the name of
it's dude's the villain whose name I can't remember. Is it Logos?
Logos, that's it. To undo all of Logos's work along with the Makers. So they're able to take the multiverse and bring it back out into the multiverse. There's a lot of high concept, high-minded things going on here. If you haven't been reading this, you really have to back up to issue number 1 to understand what the heck is going on. But essentially all of the universes that came before, all of their personifications come forth to help them, and they restore the Celestials, and Black Panther uses the powers of the Tiger God to take out Logos, which was super cool. That undoes all of his work. The Queen of Nevers has been holding on to the last Celestial and is able to rebirth them back into the universe. Eternity is now unbound, and things are back where they should be. You've got the Living Tribunal back where he was. He's no longer the weird fusion of order and chaos. They're back to their old selves, but the Living Tribunal is going to deal with them. Ego's back to being a planet again. The Ultimate Avengers are running around doing something. I don't know what they're doing.
Dude, at the end, Captain America dies during the issue. The Ultimate Captain America.
Yeah.
The rest of the Ultimates, the Wasp, Iron Man, I forget who
Hulk,
else.
Ant-Man.
They
get in a ship and fly away.
They just ride off in a Quinjet, man. Just waiting to turn up somewhere. You're like, okay.
Yeah. And then, go ahead.
I've lost track of how many Ultimate characters we have in the 616 universe now. I mean, I told you a few weeks ago, they've essentially taken the entire Ultimate universe, the characters they're in, and brought them over to the 616 universe.
Yeah, well, if you keep reading a particular book, that's more of that's going to happen.
Yeah, I guess.
Not to spoil anything. Anyway, Galactus is still Gold Galactus, so he's still the life bringer. He sends the Captain Marvel and everybody back to their places in time. And does a huge monologue about being, the Ultimates and watching over eternity and all that. It's really good.
Yeah, it's
You've
very good.
if you've
Very
been,
good.
this is the sort of thing I'd go out and buy.
And this is the sort of thing, if you really want to enjoy it and you haven't read it yet, or if you want to read it again, just start with series 2, issue 1, and read all 10 issues. Just read all 10 issues. It's a great read.
I'd start with Ultimates #1 and just start from there.
Yeah, it's a great read, man. It really is. That brings
go ahead. It's one I'm gonna come back to, and we may do a what's next on it relatively soon.
Yeah. That brings us to the main 616 universe, kinda, as clustered as it is these days, with Guardians of the Galaxy #8. This is okay. They're still fighting these Darkhawk dudes, which I don't understand. They're resurrecting Darkhawk. Now you got a whole bunch of Darkhawk guys. They're fighting them over the quantum bands. Quill's got one. They've got one. They each want them back. Rocket's dying. Peter manages to save the day. They ride off into the sunset to save Groot. There you go. I mean, it's not, it's okay.
They could be doing so much better with the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah. Black Panther and the Crew #5. They're still telling the same story of, Harlem in 1969 with the original crew and what they fought for then, and this new crew that they're putting together now, and what they're still needing to fight for against the AmeriCops, which is essentially the liberation of oppressed people. It's a good story. I'm actually really enjoying it, which is too bad because the next issue is the last one. Because as good as the book is, Marvel's going to cancel it if it's not selling.
Yes.
Which, I don't know how the book was canceled before #3 ever hit the newsstands. So I don't know how you ever make dude, it's issue #2, 3 at best. I mean, how do you even project?
They looked at the sales of 1 and 2 and said, this is a grease fire, and cut it, which,
see, I think that's the whole
I don't
problem.
think I agree with, but Marvel's been doing it for years. Next week in the dump, we're going to get Black Goliath. Black Goliath shipped bi-monthly every 2 months back in the 70s. They put 4 issues out, which means they gave it 8 months, 4 issues of sales. Dude, that's not enough time for it to even get traction on the newsstand. And they whacked the sucker. I don't understand it. I don't understand why these comic producers give a book a few issues and then cut it. I don't.
And see, I think that's part of Marvel's problem is that they're so quick to put out a #1, see if it sells in the first 2, maybe 3 issues. If it's not selling, cut it, cancel it, and then maybe relaunch it into something else later. And the problem is that you don't give the book enough time to gain traction. At least let it put out a trade paperback. It's like killing a TV series 6 episodes into a 24 episode season, or even a 12 episode season.
Dude, there are TV series that have been canceled after 1 and 2 episodes.
I think, like, and you see a lot more channels and people doing this. Netflix in particular, they're all in for a whole season. If the first season goes anywhere, they'll greenlight it for season 2. But I think like TV shows need at least 1 season to figure themselves out. I think comic books need at least 6 issues, at least a trade paperback's worth of books to figure itself out. I think you publish the book and don't even look at the numbers until issue 6 hits the newsstand.
I agree. I agree.
Because you know what? If I had been buying this at issue 1 and 2, I don't know that I would have continued reading this Black Panther and the Crew book. But by issue #5, I'd be glad to pay $3.99 for it. It's good. And if you're enjoying Black Panther written by Ta-Nehisi Coates, you'll enjoy this.
Yeah. Yep. Next, we have Invincible Iron Man number 10. And when you wonder why we're upset that Brian Michael Bendis is leaving Marvel, I read this book and I know why I'm upset that he's leaving Marvel. Because this book is the genius of Brian Michael Bendis. I love this issue, man. I really did.
It was really good.
Riri Williams, they're fighting over in Latveria because Doctor Doom is gone and there's no one to assume power. So she just kind of Riri just kind of came and said, "Okay, I'm the queen. Anybody got a problem with it?
I'm in charge now. What do you guys need?
Yeah, what do you need?" And basically got it organized, got the kids in school, got food going, got the people to stop fighting, found out why they were fighting, got them to stop fighting.
But right. She really didn't even come in and say, "Hey, I'm the queen now." She just kind of showed up and was like, "Okay, what do you need? What are you mad about? Okay, put your gun down and I'll help you get the thing you need. Okay, kids need to go to school and be fed. You guys need food." She just started giving orders, and all of a sudden, she's the ruler of the country.
And what makes this so good is she doesn't know how to get out and go home. So she calls Sharon Carter, and Sharon was like, this is before Secret Empire, so she's still in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D. And Sharon shows up in a helicarrier, and she's like, "What do you want? I told you not to fool with this mess." And she's like, "You got to get me out of here. You got to get me out of this mess." And Sharon's, it's hilarious, man. I mean, Sharon's like, "I told you not to come here. I told you not to get involved in this mess. Now you're involved. I have to fix the mess. What are you doing?" It is great writing.
Sharon's point is like, you've essentially orchestrated a coup, and now the country's in turmoil. And she's like, "No, the country was in turmoil before, and you guys wouldn't do anything about it. So this guy over here led a military operation, essentially a militia, because he couldn't get anything done any other way because nobody would listen to him, you guys in particular. So now I'm here. Now you're going to listen to me. I've got things working. I just want to go home tonight. Can you help me from here?"
Yeah.
It was really good.
It was very good.
This whole series has been really good, and this was a breakout issue for this series.
Yeah.
You have Luke Cage number 4, written by David F. Walker, who announced this week he no longer works for Marvel. He's probably really mad because this book got canceled. In fact, I know it is, because when it got canceled, he went on a Twitter tirade about it, which is probably why he chose not to re-up his contract with Marvel. That's the thing, is it's not that Marvel's choosing not to re-up their contracts with their creators. Creators are choosing not to re-up their contracts with Marvel. That's been the case with David F. Walker. It's been the case with Brian Michael Bendis. It was the case with Chris Samney. A lot of these guys are just saying, "You know what? I'm gonna go work for somebody else." That being said, I'm not terribly impressed with this book. The guy that gave Luke Cage's powers faked his own death so that he could go do research for somebody else. Luke found out he's not actually dead. There's some mischief afoot with some CEO of a company who's paying this guy. Some of dude's experiments, other people that he experimented on, come back to haunt him. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, it's not at all interesting.
You got to be into the history of Luke Cage to enjoy this book.
And I'm sure those people are out there. It just ain't me.
Right.
Yeah.
Next, we have Mighty Thor number 22.
Also a good issue.
Did you read it?
Yeah.
Have you been, because you haven't been reading this book, have you?
I've been reading it off and on. There's so much going on in Thor right now that I can't keep up with it all, but I really like this War Thor stuff.
Yeah, this is just one of those books where you gotta keep reading, or you're gonna lose what Jason Aaron is doing. Mm-hmm. I mean, you gotta study every issue, and this issue begins with Sindar, the Queen of Muspelheim.
I don't know. It's basically hell.
Yeah, and Loki and uh, the Dark Elf are there talking to her and explaining to her that she's got problems, and she doesn't listen. And then the War Thor shows up and just cracks open a can and starts smashing them until finally Jane Foster, the Lady Thor, shows up and says, you know, you're killing the children, you're killing everyone. And he's like, yeah, that's my plan. And they kind of talk about it for a few pages, and she tries to reason with him. And finally he's like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. You got to stop me. And next issue, she'll try and stop him. Really enjoyed this book. That's a brief synopsis. Great art in this book. I think half a dozen people colored it. Great writing by Jason Aaron. Really, really good book, man. Really is.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. My only problem with it is there's so much going on that it's jumped around so much. I have no idea what's going on in the overarching story. I mean, 3 or 4 issues ago, they were fighting the gods of the Shi'ar Empire.
Yeah, you just got to kind of roll with it.
Okay. I feel like it's one of those series that once Jason Aaron is done, you're going to go back and read everything he's because he's talked about this. This is to him a saga, and it's told in 3 parts, and that 3rd part's about to end when they relaunch Thor in a couple of months, sometime in May, I think. If you go back and start with that original where he started it from number 1 and read all the way to the end here, it will make sense. But until then, just reading it issue by issue, month by month, to me, I have a hard time keeping up with it.
It would be like trying to take Homer's Odyssey and just reading a chapter here or there.
Right. Reading a chapter every 3 months.
Right. You'd be completely lost.
Right. It needs to be collected into a single edition and just read from cover to cover.
And instead, you just sit down and read the Odyssey and Iliad, and, you know, you sit down and read them. Because if you don't, you're going to lose it.
Right.
Yeah.
Then we have Monsters Unleashed number 5. The New Intelligentsia, which consists of the Mad Thinker, Mr. Sinister, and MODOK, are upset with Kid Kaiju for some reason. They send a big old monster to fight his monsters. Mole Man shows up to help along with Elsa Bloodstone. Kid Kaiju's really nice to Mole Man for once in his life. Kid Kaiju's mom gives Dum Dum Dugan the business after the big fight, which of course Kid Kaiju wins. The New Intelligentsia are now in Shield custody. Hooray. Fin Fang Foom's going to be in issue 6, so I'm going to be certain not to read it.
There you go.
Because if there's anything I hate more than the Inhumans, it's Fin Fang Foom.
Yeah. I'm going to try and recap this, which is Silver Surfer number 13. And you try and tell me if I've got this right. Because this is also kind of like Ultimates number 100 and Mighty Thor. It's deep reading. Basically, Dawn wants to travel back in time and say goodbye to her dad before he dies. And when they try and do it, they wind up in a space-time loop and wind up crashing on the world of Ta, which I guess would be the end of the first universe.
It's the end. Well, it's not the first universe. It's the end. Sometime before the end of the previous universe.
Yes, because they run into Galen, who happens to be...
He becomes Galactus at the end of that universe.
Yes, at the end of that universe. And these 3 are the only people who are here at this point.
See, if you're reading the Ultimates, you'd know this.
Yes. Yes. And he's in the process of creating the machinery that will allow him to survive the death of one universe and the birth of the next and become Galactus.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they just kind of get stuck there. And while they do, Dawn grows old. They kind of explore that universe. She finally dies. She and Silver have a romantic moment. And I'm not really sure what happens at the end, which will be the last issue. I don't really... I guess he's taking her cosmic essence, and he's going to somehow take that essence and take it home with him.
I don't know. I thought issue 15 was the last issue.
No, there's one more. Oh, there's one more.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is issue 13. Issue 14 will be next. I thought issue 15 will be the last one.
Okay.
Well, you're saying that
you're saying see this, but a cat just jumped into my lap, shoved his claws into my chest, and said hello to me.
Well, you're saying issue 14 is going to be the last one. Is that right?
I thought it was. I don't know.
Okay. I know it's ending very soon.
At the end of 13, it says to be concluded, and then we have issue 14. So
right. I just think this is the beginning of the end here. This is the first story in what's going to be the last story.
Sure.
Okay. Gwenpool number 19. So Gwenpool has returned from the real world, which turned out not to be the real world at all. It turned out just to be another comic book universe where that she thought was the real world, but turns out it's not. Turns out that when she made the jump from the real world to the comic book world, that was a one-way trip. As she does, she's greeted by future versions of her old friends. One of whom is now Sorcerer Supreme. The other is a very adult Miles Morales of Spider-Man. And they're trying to kill her. Because at some point in the future, with all the knowledge that she has of the comic book characters, she turns evil and decides to kill all the heroes. So Miles Morales is going to kill her, and that's when the evil version of her from Miles' memories shows up. I don't know.
It's very good. It's a very fourth wall breaking book.
Yeah. Very and good are not two words I'd use to describe this, but okay.
I would. I enjoyed the art. I enjoy how it's dealing with the universes and ripping the realities apart. And yeah, I enjoyed it.
Okay. Well, it's getting canceled finally, so
yeah, yep. I'm disappointed.
You and a bunch of other people are. I will not be. Moving on to our Star Wars books this week, we have Poe Dameron number 16. Poe's team is trying to run surveillance on the Empire, who are being mean to people on this planet. Then they get captured. Yeah. Okay.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, I've lost track of what this book's trying to do. It's not bad, but I've lost the plot somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah. They went to go find Adi Mulva, who apparently betrayed their team, but I don't think he really did. Yeah, I don't know.
Star Wars number 34, which I was supposed to review, except I didn't, and you read it, so you're going to tell us about it real quick.
Oh, well, let me open the app back up and get to that book because I didn't realize you were going to bail on me.
I told you before we went on the air I was going to bail on you.
Oh, okay.
That's when I said Lando Star Wars 34. I didn't. That kind of means you got to do it.
Lando and Santa, who is Han Solo's not wife, that we've never actually seen or heard anything about in any of the movies, but somehow exists for some reason, are attempting to pull a smuggling operation off over some crab people.
That was back in like issue 5 or 6, man, where we get explained how he has a wife.
Oh, I understand, but she's not in the Solo movie coming up. She's not mentioned in any of the other movies. She serves no purpose.
Okay.
Just like this issue of this book serves no purpose. The Star Wars stuff has been good for a while, but I feel like Jason Aaron's got too much on his plate and he's really dropping the ball here. Because he's writing stories about crab people who are trying to buy Imperial blasters from Lando and some lady nobody cares about.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. What was your favorite book this week?
I don't know. There'd have to be a good one for me to pick from.
Oh, come on, man. You got Ultimates number 100.
We'll go with
You got
Ultimates number 100 because it was the best one this week.
I think there were
I don't know,
several
man.
good ones.
Personally, I feel like it was a really weak week.
I thought 100 was good. I thought the Invincible Iron Man book was great. I think that's some of Bendis' best work in a while. I thought the Mighty Thor book was good. Now you're right. Okay. After you get past those, it becomes kind of weak.
That's what I'm saying. Is you have that Silver Surfer and Black Panther as runners up, but after that, it's
that Wolverine Generations book was good. I mean,
it's okay.
Yeah, that Astonishing X-Men book is, maybe I know where it's going, but I thought the art in that was really good.
Yeah, that's a slow burn. It's building to something. It's only issue number 2. So
yeah, about 5 or 6, it gets really good. Yeah, but for me, it's Invincible Iron Man number 10.
Okay, cool. Yep. What do we have in the dump this week?
Some old Captain America stuff, some funky Captain America stuff, and some New Mutants. That may be the Captain America stuff from the Captain America movie that never got put out in the mid-90s.
Okay.
I mean, it's old Captain America stuff, man. It's and New Mutant stuff, and there you go. They're still trying to fill in the gaps. I think that is from the movie. It may not be, but I think it might be. Because I remember buying it.
Yep. There's some New Mutant stuff from the mid-90s.
I mean, here's how bad that Captain America movie in the Fantastic... Marvel let the rights of those movies go in the late 80s, early 90s. The Fantastic Four movie was so bad, they literally bought the copies and destroyed them. After the movie was finished, completely finished, they bought copies and destroyed it. That's how bad that movie was. This Captain America movie was so bad that you can find clips of it on the internet, but essentially Marvel bought it also so it wouldn't be distributed.
Yeah, it's like when what was it, that E.T. video game for the Atari back in the 80s? Atari literally bought all the copies and buried them in the desert. And that was considered to be like a myth or a rumor for a long time until they actually went and found where they buried them and dug them up and said, no, here they are. Yep. Hundreds of copies of a video game that they just buried in the desert because they couldn't sell them.
Yes.
Because the game was that bad.
Yeah.
Almost ended the video game industry in the mid 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Atari 2600 that's an interesting story.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was actually alive for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was not.
I know.
I was born during the video game renaissance of the 90s.
I probably owned 2 or 3 2600s over the years.
Gotta hold on to them if you still got one or two.
I don't.
Oh, well, all right then. Then you had some New Mutant stuff from the mid 90s, not half bad. Yeah, that'll pretty much do it for this week. If you want to get in touch with us, email us at 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. That's the number 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. Please follow us on Twitter at 6monthsbehind.
The website is www.6monthsbehind.com. Here's how popular the 2600 was when it first came out in the late 70s, maybe 1980 or so. A friend of mine, his dad had one, and his dad would buy every game that came out for it and kept it in like a glass case, locked, and wouldn't let us play it. And we were probably sophomores in high school at the time. Wouldn't let us play it. So we would have to wait for his mom and dad to be at work, have to run off his sister and brother, and then break into the cabinet to play his 2600.
Dude.
Yes, that was part of my misspent youth.
There you go.
That was me and David Owens, man. I could tell you a couple of stories about me and David Owens. It was David Owens' dad. Anyway. Anywho.
Anyway, before we go, do you have any wisdom to bestow upon us?
A blind person who sees is better than a seeing person who is blind.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Think on it. Sure.
I'll think on it. All right, y'all. We will see you next week.
Peace.